What's going on, you guys, and welcome back to our latest edition of Raiders Latest News, where we bring you the Raiders' latest news. And so today, I forgot to mention Silly Songs with Larry. Those of you that are just kind of new to the segment, if you watch VeggieTales growing up, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, get your life together. Watch VeggieTales. But anyway, we're here to talk about the Raiders' latest news in terms of the Ben Johnson sweepstakes. So there's going to be a lot of things that happen throughout the next week and everything, and there's a lot of people speculating that whether it's the Raiders, whether it's the Bears, whether it's the Jaguars, somebody's going to hire Ben Johnson at this point, or at least they're going to die trying. And I have a feeling that the Raiders are probably going to have an in-person interview with him this week, or at least they should, because obviously I think you got to really get him in the building and see how things flow from there. But obviously I think everybody and their mama is saying that Ben Johnson is going to be a Raider by this time tomorrow, or at least hopefully today, maybe even Friday. Who knows at this point? But I'm excited. I think that this has been a very good search for the Raiders. It's not just been a, get somebody in there and go from there. It's been a very extensive interview process, which I do think is good. I think that any time you're trying to make changes to a franchise like this, you got to look at all your options. You got to get everybody in the door, give everybody a chance to get, say their piece, and put their best foot forward and go from there. So, we'll keep you updated on how it kind of looks, but it looks as though the Raiders can now finally hold an in-person interview with Ben Johnson, and I cannot be more excited. Now, speaking of being more excited, so the Raiders continue their GM search as well, and one of those guys that makes a lot of sense is Martin Mayhew, with the Commanders, but also one of the latest news is that they are interviewing Chad Alexander with the Chargers, which could make some sense. Chad Alexander, who had spent time with the Jets before coming over and being the assistant GM of the Chargers. Like I said, I think it could make some sense where, he's a solid scout, a solid evaluator of talent, and, you can't really never count out the, hey, that guy put out together a good team against us type scouting, something like that. Basically, where he's shown that he can put together a team, whether that's with a Jim Harbaugh and company, it doesn't matter. But Chad Alexander showed that he is still a viable candidate in all this, as is Brandon Brown. And I do think that, obviously Spytek should be in on the discussion here. I would love if John Spytek was the GM for the Raiders and everything, but this one is still very much wide open. And it's going to be very interesting to see how things boil down. But, guys like Brown and Chad Alexander getting second interviews, I do think points to these guys being finalists and everything. Now, speaking of being finalists and at least making somewhat interesting offseason move, it's going to be free agency, where I don't know where the Raiders are going to go at the quarterback situation. I mean, if they trade up, great. If they go find a guy in free agency, fantastic. If they trade for somebody, great. It's going to be a very, very interesting offseason, just because in terms of how much cap space the Raiders do have, currently sitting at $92 million. Then also potentially going after guys like Sam Darnold and T. Higgins. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, I mean, at the end of the day, whoever the new head coach is, I think it's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be one of those things where they're going to assemble a team pretty quick. One move they cannot make, however, for the love of God, do not do this. Do not bring in Aaron Rodgers. Don't get me wrong. As a Vikings fan, I'm trying to be impartial and everything, but no. Just no. Do not bring in Aaron Rodgers. I think that Aaron Rodgers, don't get me wrong, would definitely add some value, but just in terms of contract, in terms of overlay and everything, it's just he's not clearly the same player. And I know what you're going to say. Oh, but maybe he can provide something. Just no. I do not want Aaron Rodgers on this team. This team has had too many distractions, and Aaron Rodgers is not a needed one at this point. And so I had to make sure I put my feelings out there on that particular subject. Now, speaking of subjects, so Tom Brady, he's been obviously a big topic of discussion over this last offseason, obviously helping him bring in Ben Johnson and the whole process, him being at Fox, that whole dynamic. But the other day when the Lions played the Commanders, there was basically no mention of Ben Johnson, I think. But I do think was it Burkhardt? Not it doesn't matter. One of the other hosts, I'm blanking off the top of my head, mentioned Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson on air. And, Tom Brady basically answered the question of, basically kind of just talking about it was a great experience for him and that kind of stuff. Didn't really touch on the actual interviews and everything or really the entire process right now, just in terms of getting to know those two, which is good. I think you have to play the cards close to the chest. But the social media backlash, the social media backlash, it just makes no sense to me. This guy, everybody's basically saying, oh, it's so fishy and blah, blah, and just they're downplaying Tom Brady. It's like, you do realize that he's had a hand in going to have a hand in the hiring process, but overall it doesn't matter. Like, he didn't share anything too much, or he did not divulge too much information and everything. It's just people are looking for a reason to hate right now, and I get it, because our teams are mostly out of the playoffs, and so just hire Ben Johnson so we can get done with this thing, please. It'd be great. But also, Max Crosby basically was talking as of recent on a show. I will not say which one. Basically talking about what he wants in the next franchise, or at least what he wants with the next head coach and with this franchise, saying that he wants to be able to compete in those games, those big-time games, and just wants stability and to win. Well, I would hope so, because with what the Raiders have done over the last, 5-6 years, there has not been anything close to that. And I do sympathize with Max Crosby. I do want him back. We just need him to get healthy, and we need him to be the leader that we know we can. And honestly, maybe we need a scheme switch at this point. I don't know what will help out Max Crosby the most, but we need him to get back to dominating. And I think that whether it's a scheme switch or a new head coach / GM, a new culture, whatever it is, we got to get this man back on the field and sacking quarterbacks, because that's when our life is the absolute best. So, but anyway, like we said, it's going to be the Ben Johnson hiring sweepstakes today. We're going to really just see how things pan out and kind of go from there. But overall, let us know what you guys think about our latest Raiders news segment. Silly Songs with Larry. Let us know what you guys think. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below, and we'll see you on the next video.